And I hope that we are recording now. Here we go. All right. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Kalamazoo Venture Tuesday. All of our guests, please mute your microphone when you're not speaking, but do feel free to leave your camera on. We'd like to see smiling faces. For those of you who have not joined us before, Kalamazoo Venture Tuesday is an opportunity to see inside the mind of investors as they provide feedback to company presenters. The purpose of KVT is not to secure immediate investment, but rather it's a teaching opportunity for participating companies and members of the audience. Each of our quarterly meetings features a panel of 3 active investors and 3 startup or early stage companies. Each presenter will have 10 minutes to pitch, followed by 10 minutes of feedback from the investor panel. We will not be taking questions from the audience. However, you may ask questions or make comments in the chat, which is located in that little conversation bubble at the top of your screen. So we're going to get started first by introducing our esteemed panel of investors. Kyle, I'm going to start with you, if you would please introduce yourself.
Sure. Hey there, everybody. My name is Kyle McGregor. I'm the Director of Health Innovations for Spartan Innovations here in Grand Rapids, the lovely city behind me here. Background in health tech, biotech, med tech, anything really to do with healthcare and tech, and kind of the confluence of those two things, and excited to be here.
Great, thank you. Eric, I'm going to go to you next. Eric Seifert from Muskegon Angels.
Thank you. Eric Seifert. I run the Muskegon Angel Investment Group, which is 25 entrepreneurs in the greater Muskegon area. We also interface with the other angel groups, the Grand Angels, Kalamazoo, and throughout the state.
Great, thank you. And last but certainly not least, Antonio Lück from MatterScale Ventures. Say hi, Antonio.
Hi, good morning. Thank you very much for having me. My name is Antonio Lück. I've been in investing in entrepreneurship for about 20 years. And lastly, we launched a venture fund that invests in technology, primarily fintech, health tech, ed tech, and future of work across the Americas, from Canada to Patagonia. We've just approved our 24th investment yesterday. So I'm excited to be here and excited to meet some of the presenting companies.
Great, thank you. We're really glad to have you here to join us as well. So we do have 3 exciting presenters today. We are going to go in this order. First up, we're going to have Steve Haystack with Smart Planet Software. Second will be Cindy Bauer from Coordinista. And last, we'll have Keith Evans from Great Lakes Crystal Technologies. And so with that order laid out, Steve, if you would like to go ahead and share your screen.
All right.
Let's make sure we can see you.
See first, share. I'm going to do present in Teams. Make sure that this is working. All right, good.
And whenever you're ready, go ahead and begin.
Perfect. My name is Stephen Haystack. I am with Smart Planet Software. We're the makers of SnowPass and StreetPass software. The problem is that municipalities wanted to be able to show what streets were plowed back to the public. The public never knew what was plowed unless they looked out the window and saw if the roads were clear or not for them to be able to get to work. So it's been a huge problem for many years, and municipalities have looked for a solution to show that. We came up with a product called SnowPass. SnowPass actually, this is the public interface. It shows what roads were plowed and how long ago. So you could see it from 0 to 2 hours, 2 to 4, and 4 to 6 hours ago, and show the public the transparency with the municipality of what has been done in their area. We took this idea to Verizon, and Verizon then took us up to the Regis Group, which is Kent County, Michigan. And the Regis Group said, yeah, really good, Steve, but we need this. So we created a backside to it, a municipality view, where the municipality can actually see percentages of completion for each one of the neighborhoods, or zones as we call it. They can see a graphical view of the map. They can tell what sensors are active or not active, and they can go historically all the way back 90 days within the system. So with that, we created SnowPass, based around snowfall. We've had great interaction where we have 27 municipalities on board right now, paying municipalities. How it works, we have Verizon puts a GPS unit inside a vehicle, a municipality vehicle, It goes up to AWS's servers. It does their magic, kind of like the secret sauce with the Big Mac, and then comes down and produces the maps that you see, all proprietary information. The technologies, we're into the third version of the application, and they're all up running on AWS's servers behind their firewalls. How it started. The city of Portage came up to us and asked for an application to show the constituents exactly what's been plowed and how long ago. We went from there, after we got that completed, to Verizon saying, is this something somebody else would want to have? And they took us up to Grand Rapids, and that's where we met with Kent County Road Commission, the city of Grand Rapids, the whole team up there. It's called the Regis Group, which includes all the areas within Kent County. They helped us build the application with their ideas. So this application was built by the municipalities for the municipalities. Our milestones, we started our business in 2011, and just in 2022, actually last fall, 2021, we had a big meeting with the head of Verizon's government sales, the director, and she said, Steve, you're hurting yourself. You need to rename your product to something that is more year-round so that you can get the southern hemisphere of the United States and that. So we introduced street paths. That's why you see both products there. Our market is municipalities. These numbers came from Verizon. Verizon is one of our partners. They feel that there's just underneath 1 million municipality vehicles. That's our market share, our market that we're going after in the United States. So we have a good sized market and we have a good set of customers. Right now, each one of these red dots are our existing customers as we have them right now, all spread throughout the United States. If we want to get a little more particular, here's them actually in words. So like Schenectady, New York, Newark, New Jersey, we have a lot in the state of Michigan. So they are all on board paying customers that we've had since fall of last year. We have signed up and we are now part of the marketing and sales with Verizon. Since Verizon goes out and makes the actual presentation, they use us as an add-on to help sell their product. We've been a great teamwork together, and now that we are part of the Sourcewell and GSA, it just has opened up that doorway for us more. And like I say, we are a Verizon Connect partner. Part of the history that I didn't tell you about is when I first approached Verizon on it, the salesperson said to me, we're probably not interested in that. 20 minutes later, I got a call from another gentleman that says, I'm his boss. My name is Adam Roll, and I'd like to do a verbal contract with you with your product, because they could see what we have. We've been a partner with Verizon ever since the beginning. Our competition, we have a couple of competitors out there. What sets us different from them is we give a public portal, which they don't, and we also have a completion report. You can see exactly the percentages of completion and what's being done within your municipality. Our management team, we have a well-seasoned management team in there that is all in-housed here in Kalamazoo, except for Chuck. Chuck is an employee, but he's based out of Grand Rapids. Our programming team, from Jim, Robbie, and Kathleen, they're our primaries. Kathleen is in charge of all of our securities on AWS. Robbie and Jim are our designers and developers for the application. Tilga, Sarathi, and John are all programmers within the application. Our advisory board is not only internal, but we also have a group that is external, which is the Regis group out of Kent County. Mary Samuels, which she's the director for Mason County Road Commission, and Devin McAdeer, which he's the head of IT for the city of Portage. So we've tried to be very diverse with it. So it's not programmers trying to design an application. We've asked for help, and we want it to be with what they need. Our business model is service or software as a service. Our implementation plan going forward, we are in the process of going serverless at this point in time. And so it kind of gives you a roadmap of exactly what we've got planned. We need a lot of help with our marketing right now. And so That's why we're talking to you guys. Our revenue model is really good. For every dollar we bring in, 75% of it actually goes toward our gross margin. You know, programming right now is cost a little bit more because we're still in the development stage. And as we're in our third release of it, it just gets fine-tuned as we go through. As you know, software, it's evolving all the time. Our financial projections. Last year, you could see we were quite a bit in the hole. We are moving forward, and this is without any help from investors. This is just where we're in course for at this moment. By the way, we've done this at this point all by ourselves. We have not asked for any funding from anyone. What we are asking, though, is to go into the future so that we can do more software upgrades. We can hire on more salespeople, since we have the whole nation to go after right now, if not worldwide. More customer service. We need marketing really bad, so I need some help there in sales and marketing. So with that, thank you very much for listening to me. I'm all open for questions, and I went through a quick, sorry guys, I'm nervous. So
That was great. Thank you, Steve. We have time for feedback then. Kyle, we're gonna start off with you, letting you tell Steve what you saw.
Sure. Just so I know, just 'cause I haven't seen any of these, this is questions or feedback or both, or
This is feedback. This is an opportunity for you as a panelist to tell we always say the good, the bad, the ugly. We
Sure.
like you to be honest, but we like you to be kind. Go ahead and give Steve some feedback that tells him what he did well and maybe how he can make his presentation better in the future.
Steve, you've got a great demeanor in giving these things, so I would not have known that you were nervous up until like the very end of that. So keep that card closer to the vest, I guess I'd say. I think you did fine there. I think you went through a lot of information. I think that the thing that I would be looking to see were just a little bit different types of information. You really breeze through some kind of complex financial information, and a lot of it being forecasted out. So really breaking down where you're at as a company right now and being able to show on that table how you're going to be able to use this next round to really bolster those specific areas would be a really, really good help, because it helps you weave that narrative, right? So you have like this compelling thing, you've got business coming in that's pretty impressive that I never would have guessed from the very beginning of the presentation. So like, be more confident in the fact that like you're already kind of doing some awesome stuff. Use that as like your kind of circular way of getting back to say, we're already doing all of this. So I would start to lead with a little bit more of that. I would get into marketing. What is like the actual outcome from that marketing? It's one thing to say you need marketing, but what does that mean? Are you looking for print? Are you looking for leadership? Are you looking for design? Are you looking for content creation? It's probably all of those, right? But if that's like the big thing that you're talking about and the big thing that you'd use this raise to do, put another slide in there, if nothing else, to say what are the specific things and what are the targets that are going to come from those. Because I think it's one thing to say we know we need to do marketing, but it's another thing to have kind of a plan and trajectory of what those things might actually look like. The more you can firm these things up for investors to give them somewhat of a picture, even if it's a rough picture of what that's going to look like, is going to serve you so well as you kind of go on from there. But I think you did a really, really good job overall. It's just a little bit more targeted information and making sure that like, I was thinking like story arcs. So you know some of the outcomes that you want to get to from this raise. So weave that narrative for why you're not quite where you want to be right now for those individual line items, and tell the story of how this raise is going to get you to that next thing and what some of the things you would actually do to get there are in your mind. Obviously, you always have flexibility to change it as you go on, but again, the more you can kind of start to tell that story of how those paths go, the better and easier it is for investors to get their head around it.
excellent. Thank you. Great advice.
I don't know about
Thank
that, but take it.
Thank you, Kyle, very much. Eric, we're going to go to you now. What feedback do you have for Steve?
Yeah, I too will echo what was just said. Very, very well presented. I guess I would have liked to heard a little more about the competition. You talked about a couple of features and whatnot, but is there a cost differential? And if you're higher, do your features, outweigh that cost? I would have been impressed to see the installed base. You mentioned some of the places that you're doing business, and maybe you had that on your screen, but I did not see that. I'm in the snow belt here, so lake effect is kind of a dirty word here on the coast, and snow removal is near and dear to my heart. I've got a couple customers in that space and whatnot, but I do a lot of traveling in my area, so I'd be really interested in seeing what has been completed or not. It looks like an excellent program, excellent service. So overall, very high marks. Well done.
What I'd like to do, if I could get your contact information, I can share with you some more of the information, just like Mary, just north of you up in Mason County. The entire county uses our program. Same way with all of Kent County, Portage, Michigan, Battle Creek, Michigan, Livonia, Warren. So we are growing throughout the state rapidly. So
great. Well, one other point too, one of my past clients is a website design firm that deals solely with municipalities throughout the Midwest. So they might be able to assist you with entrees into some other places you haven't been yet. So
fantastic.
Do get back to me.
Excellent. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Eric. Very good. And Antonio, what would you like to give Steve for feedback?
Thank you so much. Well, nice presentation. I think I agree with Kyle. There's no nervousness came across. And I do agree a lot with Kyle on the marketing. I fail a little bit to understand why your dollars needs to go to marketing, especially because you're selling to municipalities. So a few things that to me come to my mind is immediately when you're selling to kind of government entities is like length of sales cycles. How hard is it to sell into them? Is it better to do a partnership? Why might you not be working directly with Waze or Google to provide that information? And then the big question for me is who receives that final value? Obviously, for me, it's awesome to know that a road has been cleared, but how is that really a good thing for a municipality to spend money on to provide it to their residents, right? There's so many other infrastructure needs generally that cities have. Why is it informing about snow a big deal for the cities, and why would they pay for that? Attached to that is then another question that I had or comment that I would love to see you go a little bit deeper. If I recall correctly on your financials, you posted about 1.2 million projected revenue for the end of 2026.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I would try and dig a little bit deeper and see if you can be a lot more aggressive with that number. 2026 is 4 years out, right? And you're asking for $2 million to be able to make 1.2 million in 2026.
Nope. Hold on a second. There was a notice at the bottom that says that's if I don't get help from angels. That's if I follow on my own path the way that we're doing right now.
Got it. I missed that. And so what would be your revenue if you had the money, right? I think that's more important. So if you're pitching for money, you want to be able to show what your revenues and what your financials look with that money coming in and be able to really determine and show how much an investor could have an idea or a sense of what they're going to make back on their money.
Almost 6 times that is what we figured.
Okay.
And to your first question that you asked about knowing what the product, what value has got out there. We now support garbage trucks and that. So it's like the person that's at home that says, hey, do I have time to get my dumpster out before the garbage truck? As it come by? On the municipality side, they can look at it as what is being done with the entire city. Well, this area of the city gets more snow than this side. So they can come through and go, all right, they're almost completed in the northwest. Let's go move them down to the southeast because they need help down there. They're really bogged down. It gives the municipality quick view of how to manipulate vehicles and where to put them for completions, as well as when they're out doing, leaf cleanup, pothole repair. It gives the public, they can look at it and see what roads are being done so they can avoid them. A lot of transparency back for the, for the public.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Okay, we have just a few minutes left. Steve, did you have any specific questions that you wanted to ask the panel about your presentation? Was there anything that you wanted to ask about that hasn't already been touched upon?
They did a great job with telling me the things that I need to work on. And yeah, I could probably spend a little more time on the actual financial slides so that you could get a better picture of it. So I will work harder on that next time. But really, I appreciate you guys taking the time to go through this with me. It's huge. And if I could get contact information, I would love to address you on a one-to-one.
Thanks. Panelists, any last words for Steve before we move on to Cindy? Okay, very good. Cindy, it's your turn. I'm going to get my timer ready to go here. And you may go ahead and share your screen. Let's make sure we can see your slides. And you can unmute yourself. Everyone else, remember, mute yourself while our presenter is presenting so we don't hear any background noise.
Okay, I got a little bug here. Oops.
Oh, no. Okay,
Oh,
I see your slides.
You see them? Okay, let me put it in the center
yeah.
mode here.
Presentation mode.
Okay, got it.
Okay, are you set and ready?
I think so.
Okay, whenever you're ready, go ahead and begin.
Okay, I'm Cindy Bauer. I'm the CEO and founder of Coordinista. And in 2015, I experienced one of the hardest moments in my life when I was removed from office as a state representative. Yet it was ironically that moment that launched me back into my nursing career, where I would go on to lead a national provider in transitions of care metrics by using my previous experience in campaign field deployment. And it's the combination of these experiences together that have really provided the insight to allow me to create a company which will revolutionize healthcare delivery for millions of people. Each year, 2.3 million seniors are readmitted to the hospital within 30 days of discharge at a cost of about $15,500 per readmission. Why? Current telephonic post-discharge outreaches fall short. Only 37% of seniors will engage on the phone with medical providers. And this leaves a large gap during the 7-day window that's a crucial time to prevent readmissions. This is the 7-day window where 74% of seniors take their medications incorrectly post-discharge. This leads to the gaps of the seniors not getting the care that they need, and they end up being readmitted. To a tune or price tag nationally of $26 billion per year. And to give you the idea of the scope of that, 82% of hospitals are penalized related to readmissions. Coordinista provides the tools that care management teams need out in the field to be able to optimize their time and decrease their administration waste so that they can spend more time engaging with patients and engage them face-to-face during that transitions of care in that 7-day window. Care managers have very large caseloads that cover sometimes multiple counties with hundreds of different members or patients that they're managing. Coordinista provides the tools to be able to optimize those caseloads to make sure that we're using our nursing resources out in the field well, optimally, which is very important right now with a nursing shortage currently and projected. And we also give the nurse care managers the tools that they need out in the field to be able to do their scheduling, their mapping, their routing, receiving health events information in real time, and all the tools that they need to be able to get to those patients when they need it. The results is that Coordinista enables face-to-face admission visits for the care managers, which downstream leads to more face-to-face medication reconciliations done within those 7 days post-discharge, which leads to decreased readmissions. What Coordinista does is a little different than most of the care management platforms that are on the market right now. We really target filling in the gaps that are there when it comes to the field deployment and field engagement. One of the biggest competitors on the market is TrueCare. It's a care management platform that's used by Centene, which is the largest ACO or accountable care organization in the nation. TrueCare and Altruista both raised over $40 million, and TrueCare was acquired in 2021 and Altruista in 2020. Also, product alternatives out there for the type of needs out in the field are Google Maps and Outlook Calendar. Sometimes nurses will manually input addresses of patients into Google Maps to find out how to route and where they are. Google Maps is not HIPAA compliant, and Outlook Calendar doesn't connect to their patient information. And so it's really limited in its use. In the adjacent market, in home health care, Alia Care has come on the scene. They were established in 2014 out of Montreal, and with an intent similar to Coordinista's and bringing field and mobile tools for care managers that are or nurses that are out in the field. Alia Care has raised $225 million. Our total available market is all these different healthcare market segments that deliver care out into the field, either face-to-face or telephonically. And so it's a really large market. To narrow it down, we've identified as care management software solutions as our beachhead or target market. And this includes accountable care organizations, managed care organizations, payviders, which are health plans that also provide care management and primary care, health systems, and integrated delivery systems. And this is a really hot and growing market. In fact, it's the largest and fastest healthcare market segment. And that's because CMS, or Center for Medicare and Medicaid, has really turned up the heat in different regulations that they have required on these customers, which has really spurred on a lot of innovation. The niche that we believe that we will be able to acquire early on is the transitions of care in the rural market combination. Transitions of care are more new and more recently on the scene, and so our customers are really still trying to figure out how are they going to incorporate transitions of care into their current workflow. How do they do that successfully? As I showed earlier, there's still a lot of gaps and still a lot of readmissions. And so that's going to be our sweet spot in the beginning, and with rural markets, because those are the markets that we believe will get the most value out of Coordinista. Our value proposition to our customers is that we provide benefits on both sides of the balance sheet. On one side, we do have cost savings in the mileage, cutting mileage costs and productivity costs. Right now, nurses spend so much wasted time behind a windshield because of non-optimal and ineffective caseloads and scheduling. So we estimate that for an average size accountable care organization of 30,000 members, we would save them about $1 million per year. And then on the other side of the balance sheet, we help increase shared savings by decreasing high cost utilization, so they get to keep more in their pocket by closing those quality gaps that help them bring in more reimbursements. And also we help increase services that are billable, so they can increase their revenue that way. For an average size ACO, we estimate $4 million per year in increased revenue growth. Our business model is a software as a service, and it's based on how many patients are in our system per patient per month that we're managing, plus a one-time onboarding fee. And what that would look like for an example customer of a 30,000 member ACO, their price for Coordinista would be $345,000 per year. And the value that they'd receive from that I just went through in the previous slide would be $5 million per year. Our marketing and engagement plan is both top down and bottom up. We'll engage in direct and indirect sales and marketing. We do have a referral channel partner, Medical Solutions Group, that has deep connections in healthcare systems in Michigan. And we just completed a mobile application demo where nurses can actually download with dummy data, dummy patient data, not real patient data, but they can download the app and be able to check out the workflow and give us feedback so we can continue to make sure our product market fit as well as nurses are a really close group to be able to help spread word of mouth. 100% of nurses that were surveyed post-demo said that they would share about Coordinista with their peers. So right now our plan is to start developing our MVP prototype in September, to start development there, and to conduct our pilot in March of 2023. We expect that our first customer will be our pilot customer after we validate KPIs. We expect our first 10 customers to come from the relationships we currently have, and also with Medical Solutions Group. And we also were just selected to be in the 2022 cohort for Accelerate Health out of their Flint location. And they have connections with a number of health systems as well. We anticipate those first 10 customers to be a mix of accountable care organizations, small health plans, and critical access hospitals. Our main expense is for security and data integration and data management. What we've completed so far is we've done customer discovery throughout the entire process. We've completed clickable website and mobile demos. We've brought on our first investor and have raised $30,000. We've conducted patent searches. We just recently completed our mobile application demo. We're still conducting customer discovery, and we just started our patent applications. We are currently in discovery for the MVP and the roadmap for that, and we're currently participating with Accelerate Health in their 2022 cohort. And what is next for us is the prototype development, securing our pilot candidate, and doing the HIPAA security risk assessments. After that, we'll conduct our pilots and launch the go-to-market product and our full sales and marketing. We're excited about our team. We have a great team with a lot of deep experience in the industry, from startup all the way to Fortune 500 companies. Vince McGee is our CTO, and for example, Vince has worked at McKesson, United Health Group, Ingenious Med, and Med Assets. Mike McGregor is Vice President of Sales, and Mike has experienced multiple exits with companies valued over 200 million. Mike has worked at places like Cloverleaf, McKesson, Allscripts, and Jellyfish Health most recently. And Damone Sorensen is coming on. He's onboarding right now as our CFO. And Damone has been the EVP and CFO for hospitals and health providers for over 20 years, including Mount Nittany Health, Alpena Regional Medical Center, Ascension, and McLaren's Bay Region and Macomb Medical Center. Nick Wellham is our board advisor of operations, and Nick also brings experience with him as CEO of Individualytics, interim CEO of Hygia, and CEO of Medical Weight Loss Clinic. Amanda Moore, Dr. Frank Okason, and Susan Wahlberg are advisors that advise in their area of specialty. And our partners are Accelerate Health. Our vendor partners are Advanced Health Technology Solutions. iShare Medical, MPeak is our developer, and they provide custom EHR solutions for U.S. healthcare companies, and our referral partners, Medical Solutions Group. And I thank you very much for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Great. Good job, Cindy. Thank you. We're going to start off the feedback this time with Eric.
Thank you. Cindy, I'm somewhat familiar with your space. I owned a large home healthcare agency, Medicare certified, and that we sold but morphed into a behavioral health agency with 50 people out in the field, and we're just now grappling with how do we watch their activity and whatnot. I guess I would have liked to hear how this integrates with other systems, billing and whatnot. I might have missed that, but you mentioned data integration and whatnot, so I assume you're working with integrating with other software systems as well. Overall, I think you did an excellent job. You obviously got a deep background in this, and I think there's a real need here. Really don't have any other criticisms. I think it was very well done.
Okay, great. Thank you. Antonio, how about you?
Thank you. Very nice presentation, Cindy. I think you cover most of the things that I'd like to see, especially market and the opportunity. I'd love to understand a little bit more kind of the way it would work. Is it in terms of the nurses and the practitioners that you would be working with? How are you vetting them? How are they our employees? Are they like Uber drivers that you're just connecting to an app and coming and servicing somebody at the time that they can, right? Those are interesting models from a cost and times perspective, and also very interesting from a practitioner standpoint, because many of the services they can do is off their time and increase their revenue. So try and understand a little bit more kind of your service. How are you servicing these patients? And then also understanding a little bit more. It seems like you have very experienced folks in your team from a sales perspective. I would just caution you to be careful with kind of the sales cycles. I think sales cycles, especially if you're selling to hospital systems or a little bit larger systems, can really hurt a business like yours, like with the expectation of, no, I'm going to sell to 37 clients in the next year. And maybe you can, but it would have to be something that they really, really can't live without, right? And few things are like that. So how do you really penetrate these organizations to be able to both have a very defined funnel in terms of the steps for your sales cycles, but also the understanding of the timing for that, right? Maybe everybody that you need to pitch, you need to pitch them between October and November. I'm not so sure about how the market works, but there are different timings and decision makings for these systems, these hospital systems, and then being able to really give them I think the understanding of the credibility and recognition that even though you are a startup, that they can trust that they can work with you. So how do you build that as fast as possible to be able to be, let's say, within their radar of somebody that they would consider as a vendor more than anything? Like you also have, sometimes you're going to be dealing with vendor codes, you're going to be dealing with things like that some could take 6 to 10 months just to get one of those, and you could be waiting for that. So thinking, really understanding kind of how you're going to sell into them, and maybe McGregor does have all that understanding from his previous, but I think defining very, very early on your sales strategy, your funnel, and how you're going to get the business might be one. And I don't know if you always need them, right? You could start from more a direct to consumer or direct to patient model, potentially working with the families and making sure that the seniors or some parts of the population do get the service that they need, and maybe it is firstly paid by the family. So I would venture in thinking a little bit about the model in terms to accelerate your revenue and really build kind of that sales funnel in a very methodical and smart way. That would be my advice.
That's wonderful feedback. Thank you, Antonio. And Kyle, how about you?
Yeah, I think not going to beat a dead horse here, but I definitely agree with Antonio. I think the big thing that I was looking at was, what's the actual model that you're going to use to get into these healthcare systems where resources are tight, timing is terrible for the most part. How are you actually going to be able to do that? And I think doing a little bit of a homegrown model to get started is going to be the way you can kind of show your value immediately. So I won't beat that to death. Other nitpicky, again, I think you did a really good job. So just like nitpicky things. You have like some wireframes that are kind of cool, sexy images. They are so small in relation to the text. Just make those a little bit bigger so you can actually see those things. Just because like it's a cool wireframe, and I think it kind of tells the story of what you're trying to do, and being able to see the geographic segmentation of how you're going to divvy up resources, I think is a very compelling story for how this is different than how we typically do things, where I think like even on the physician side, things are so empaneled that you may be working with people that have no geographic correlation to each other. So being able to show how you actually carve those in like a K nearest neighbors types of way is kind of a cool model to be able to carve those up. Nitpicky. Other thing that I think is a little bit more important, the competitor slide I think was a little light for me. Like your first competitor that was listed had no overlap with you. So it doesn't seem like they're your competitor. That would be my guess from that. But the one that you put as one of your alternative, I don't know what the title you used, but someone in the alternate category had a ton of overlap with what you're doing. So maybe figuring out a way to unpack that diagram a bit more to show what the similarities are, what the differences are, and what your value add is above and beyond those types of things. And then the only like last nitpicky thing, I think the obtainable market maybe is a little bit low for you guys and what you're doing. Like there's a ton of broad applications that you guys could start to do smaller variants of these things with. So being really specific on how you're actually segmenting that, and I don't, because the rural healthcare market is obviously much larger. So figuring out how you're actually defining what that, I think it was 50 million or so, like what is that? Because it's got to be much more dialed in than just rural healthcare transition, because even just in Michigan alone, that's millions and millions of dollars if we're not talking nationwide. So figuring out how you actually carve that up and tell that story, I think it's going to be a bit more important.
Okay.
Hey, that is awesome feedback. Thank you. Cindy, we do have about another minute and a half. Was there any specific question that you had about your presentation that you would like feedback on?
I do appreciate that. No, the feedback is really helpful. Thank you. I'll speak to the one point with the 37 customers. There is the assumption is that with a critical access hospital and rural healthcare clinic that work together, they'd have 12 providers. And so that takes in each one of those providers. So that would be, for example, 3 critical access hospital systems. But no, I really appreciate it. It's hard for me to know how deep to go in the product because I feel like if you don't know the space, sometimes it can get kind of weedy, and I have a hard time a lot of times articulating those kinds of things without getting into the weeds. So I appreciate the feedback very much.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you. 2 awesome presentations down, 1 more awesome presentation to go. Last up today is Keith Evans, Great Lakes Crystal Technologies. So Keith, if you would like to go ahead and share your slides, remember everyone, go on mute if you can when you're not speaking, which I'll do in a moment since the lawnmower's going outside my window. Okay, Keith, we do see your slides. They look good. So anytime you're ready, you may begin.
Okay, thank you, Sandra. Good morning, everybody. It's great to be here. I'm Keith Evans, President and CEO and co-founder of Great Lakes Crystal Technologies. I list Tim Grotjohn here, also our technical advisor, and Muskegon, our board chair, and you'll see them on our team slide. Let's see. So our mission is to become the leading provider of high-performance diamond materials for high technology applications. And currently, the state-of-the-art looks like the pictures there. They're unfortunately 1/2 centimeter by 1/2 centimeter by, say, 1/2 millimeter rectangular parallel pipettes, as opposed to big 12-inch wafers. But we aim to change that. And all semiconductor materials started in a small form factor, and they only got bigger when the volume applications drove that to happen. So the supply chain for high-performance diamond materials is completely reliant on inadequate foreign sources. And yet the early adopters that we see are domestic in nature and tied to 3-letter agencies and national security and defense applications. So there's a huge need for a domestic supplier of these kinds of materials. So we see the competitive landscape this way. There are maybe 20 other companies creating laboratory-grown diamond materials, but they were all formed to attack the gemstone market, which is much easier to satisfy, and there's a bunch of headroom there. But it is a bloody market, and everybody doing the gemstones is trying to move into the high-tech applications. So we're the only company that's domestic, that has the structural quality, chemical purity, and size scalability of the diamond materials, and the only one that's 100% focused on high-tech applications. So the markets, we created 4 bins. There's so many applications for diamond. It's difficult to corral it just right, but advanced optics and high energy particle detection are real niche markets today for detecting X-rays at beam lines, for instance, at Argonne National Labs, Advanced Photon Source, and SLAC and CERN in Europe. High performance electronics, diamond is known as the ultimate semiconductor for good reasons. It has higher figures of merit than all other competing semiconductor materials, and given enough time, it will take serious market share there and enable new capabilities. The quantum technologies market is just exploding. It's mostly a research market, and customer discovery is teaching us that the most pent-up demand right now is in the quantum technology space. And then there's a bunch of other applications that if the Q&A wants to go there, I'd be happy to address. Our solution to the pain in the market and the growing need for these materials is the advanced diamond materials and device technology developed at Michigan State University over multiple decades. And MSU is an internationally renowned university for this technology space. They started in 1985. Jess Asmussen, he's now emeritus, began using plasma physics and vacuum technology to create a platform for creating initially polycrystalline diamond and ultimately single crystal. And you can see, I won't read up through all this ladder here, but Professor Grotjohn, our technical advisor, has PhD from Purdue and joined in 1987, and he's led the effort there ever since, and ultimately leading to the launch of our company in late 2019. I apologize for the screaming nature of this slide. We leave it in there kind of for fun, but in our customer discovery, we find out not only is the pent-up demand serious, but the early adopters are willing to write strong letters of support for our federal support proposals and letters of support for our product plans, and most of them desire to be early adopters. We've been very successful with the SBIR program. Recently, we got a call from Senator Peters' office saying, hey, we're seeing it's embargoed right now, but we're seeing you won 3 new phase 1s from Department of Energy. And I said, boy, we only sent in 3 proposals, so we had estimated we'd only win 1 of the 3, but we got them all. And it's, we're good, we know that, but we're not that good. This is reflective of the huge demand being felt by the federal funding agents in Washington, D.C. for, in many cases, very sensitive applications. So when we look at the pipelines for federal grants, we feel like we're going to maybe get around 2 million next year. That's a little bit conservative. And then on the commercial sales side, we made our first commercial sales a couple weeks now. It was a race working with two customers. One was for quantum technologies, and I think for DARPA, National Security Agency, but we don't have the right clearance and it's a need to know kind of thing, but we can sense that in our discussions. And the other was to support advanced research and next generation electronics, and I believe DARPA is behind that as well. So we're forecasting a couple $1 million on both sides, so a $4 million revenue target next year. We have all kinds of products planned. What's interesting is what you put down on paper rarely is realized. We're already selling things on the bottom here, but we are benefiting from great SBIR support for developing those products earlier than we had planned. Our go-to-market strategy focuses early on in partnering with those DOE labs and advanced research efforts in corporate world and in academia. As we raise additional seed round financing, we're going to get our own sales team in place. And then in the out years, we anticipate leveraging the MOU with our lead investor, AGC, the Corning of Japan. And it's a 3-pronged MOU to develop new products that marry our diamond with their materials, and they're investing aggressively. They're into glass in a big way, but they're investing in other semiconductor materials because they can see the long-term opportunities there are huge. And we've all read about the CHIPS Act and all those things, and it plays into all that. And then in the out years, we probably employ sales agents in Europe and Asia as well. We understand our unit economics very well and have mapped out our processes in detail and understand where the cost reduction opportunities are. Our revenue forecast calls for reaching nearly $50 million in revenues in 2026, led early on by federal contracts, but by commercial sales beginning next year approximately. So our team it's a pretty incredible team, and Tim is not only Tim Grochon, a major guru in diamond, but he gets it on the business side. He pushed for us to enter into customer discovery, and I've not seen many professors do that on their own. We have Paul Quayle, who's got tons of experience in diamond manufacturing. Hired Ramon Diaz, just got his PhD on making larger diamonds. So he's taken 4 or 5 millimeter by 5 millimeter seeds, created a 10 by 10, and that's on our product roadmap. And I'm happy to get a little more diversity with recent hires there. Plus, we're benefiting hugely from an army of interns from, you can see these universities here leveraging the Michigan STEM Forward program and the University of Chicago Metcalf Scholarship. And we have tons of advisors, and we can only list so many in a deck, and we're looking to increase the diversity here because of another slide with a bunch of white guys, but this is going to change. And I'll just mention 2 particular people here. Muskegon, who was part of the mentors that reviewed our business plan going into the Duality Quantum Accelerator program in Chicago. He liked what he saw so much that he left the program and joined our team as our executive chair. He brought with him Mike Freud, the global chair of corporate practice at the world's largest law firm, and he's our lead counsel, giving us great advice. And our hats off to Jeff Wesley at Michigan Rise, Red Cedar Ventures, and Spartan Innovations, that we owe so much to our initial roots, our pre-seed financing, and he recently joined our seed round via the Michigan Rise Fund. In fact, Michigan has just been fantastic to us, and I won't go through all these programs, but if any of the other speakers would like to hear about these, we've benefited from them all, and based on the advice from Red Cedar Ventures and Spartan Innovations, which is fantastic. We're joining all the right organizations. I can address these in Q&A, and constantly working with the federal agencies and the nonprofit groups to increase our connectivity into the ecosystem. So we see our growth as having 4 stages. That initial fabulous stage where we worked very closely with Michigan State University on the federal grants, and that includes Fraunhofer Center for Coatings and Diamond Technologies. Today we're here and moving on in 2022, where we have a facility in an incubator center just off of Michigan State University campus. We've used this reactor to create one of the products that we recently sold, and this will support our run up the revenue ramp in 2023 while we seek to build a much bigger facility that we're calling the Mini Factory and Applications Lab that will maybe have 5 crystal growth tools and all the support characterization tools and additional processes. And we're going to be partnered up closely with the university, whether it's Michigan State or University of Chicago, remains to be seen, and had some good discussions with Purdue University as recently as yesterday. And then we want to make a full production facility, and I think that's going to end up in Michigan. But right now, the granularity we're putting to this next phase of growth, we are having drawings made for a facility with details on all of the equipment plans we have at the terminal in Chicago, in a near west location that would allow us rapid access to the University of Chicago. And we're going to develop a lot of IP, not only in our materials there, but the vertical of the materials and the devices and sensors they enable. And we can use that to either vertically integrate the company in the out years or pass that on to customers or spin out new companies. So I think there's huge benefits to this, having this diamond center in the Midwest, especially at least in the US, but we love the Midwest, and that's our intent. And it turns out, if you look at other semiconductor materials, wherever the material center of excellence is where all that vertical IP gets generated, and it benefits the nation it sits in hugely. So this is our final slide, I believe, where we're looking to raise a couple $2 million in additional seed financing, and hopefully, up to $8 million in non-dilutive grants and state programs. And our use of proceeds is to procure the CapEx for that next stage of growth, and of course, people and working capital. So thank you very much.
Wonderful presentation. Thank you, Keith. By the way, just for people to know, this is actually Keith's return to Kalamazoo Venture Tuesday. We first heard from you about, what, a year and a half ago, maybe?
That's right. And I was very, very long-winded then, so I think I might have got it on time here.
No, you were great, and so much change that I've seen. This is new for our panel, though, so I think this is the first time our panel is seeing it. Antonio, we're going to start with you this time. What kind of feedback would you like to share?
Well, thank you so much for the presentation, and congrats on already all the success that you've received and had with the government programs. A couple of things on the presentation really quickly. I think at the beginning you mentioned kind of being a huge need, or talking about need, and it takes you like 4 or 5 slides to come and talk about more about the technology and the applications. I would try to fit very early on, kind of a few sentences of why is it a huge need, what are the opportunities, and really kind of get people who are watching your presentation really excited and curious about what is coming next. That really demonstrates that need. Also super nitpicky, but as an advice, you have in your competitive slide, you put your company as last. You probably want to put your company as the first company in that slide. And then I think a little bit more general. I think talking a little bit. I think your presentation is really geared to give you an understanding of like what you are building. But I think if you're raising money, you need to be able to make it a little bit more exciting of like, how are you going to really build a company? How is this going to be a gigantic company that's going to be really bringing a lot of revenue and making money for yourself, obviously having an impact like you have in the innovation and creation of new technologies, but how does that monetize and how does that really bring money back to your investors? I would try and give a little bit more of that spin, of that flavor, of that excitement of like, we're building the best team to build the biggest innovation company in the diamond space, more than, oh, we're getting these grants, we're doing some of these things, and we're working with the organization. I think you need to focus on really building how you build that company and get that spin to excite investors to come along.
Thank you. Great input.
Great. That is good feedback. Thank you, Antonio. Keith, do me a favor. Can you unshare your screen? It's a beautiful screensaver, by the way. I love those
Oh,
mountains.
I'm sorry.
That's okay, but it just makes
as
your
you know,
face.
I'm less experienced with Teams.
Yeah, it just makes your face very small. We want to be able to see.
How do
So
I?
if you-
Oh, there we go.
There we go. Now we can see everyone again. Thank you. Okay, thank you, Antonio. It was really great. Kyle, we're going to go to you now. What would you like to share with Keith?
Yeah, similar types of comments. I'll just kind of be a little bit more dialed in. I think you have most of the right slides. I just think they're in the wrong order. And I think that was mostly like Antonio's point. Like it took me like, and I've obviously through Spartan Innovations have heard, and I see Brad on the call here, a lot of Purdue folks. I don't know how I feel about that, but see a lot of people here, and I know a little bit about the technology and what you're doing, but it took like a good 3 slides to figure out. I was like, what the heck are we talking about here? And then you finally get into it. It's like, boom, there we go. So like starting up with like the compelling, like big flash. So I think of like academic writing. So we both have PhDs, we get it. Like start with like what you got that's kind of sexy and interesting, and then get into the science beyond that. But even kind of going down that funnel, you kind of stop a couple of times. There's about 3 slides where you're talking about the team, the board, and like it kind of bogs down right there. Save all that stuff for closer to the end. Like people can look up those people, see who they are, get down like the narrative of what you're doing and what the compelling business case is for this. And like, again, you're doing awesome stuff. And I think a cool conceptual area that people like diamonds, it's fun to talk about. And like the applications for them are like so broad and so cool that like there needs to just be a little bit more flash to it. And I think I fall into that trap as a PhD as well, where you kind of get into like, look at all the grants we got, and look at all the academic kind of nerd stuff we're doing. Like talk about the company, talk about what you're going to do, what you're going to build, how you're going to use this money, and why that's going to skyrocket your potential to get into like that quantum space, which is like the next, or hopefully not last, but the next frontier there. So again, I think you got the right slides. It just needs to change the timbre and change the order.
Thank you, Kyle. You and Antonio are giving me great food for thought. For sure.
Wonderful. Yes, thank you. And so we will bring it home with Eric. Go ahead. What would you like to say?
I'm very much intrigued by this. I was always interested. We had a small gem fabrication facility north of town here in Shelby, which is actually adjacent to a MSU small facility there. But yeah, I guess I'd like to hear more about the investor types you've got on board already, and what kind of exit they might expect if come on board as an investor. But definitely, you made the case for the market and whatnot, and the need and the applicability. So I'm very intrigued by it. But I guess my main focus would be speaking to the investors, and it occurred to me also the order of the slides ought to be redone, but very well presented.
Thank you, Eric. I mean, I'm happy to elaborate on the investors. Forgive me, I don't know if you guys want much response in real time, or is it at the end when you give me a couple minutes, Sandra? Yeah. Maybe we're getting there anyway.
Hang on. Yeah, we've got about 2.5 minutes. Was there anything in particular, Keith, that you wanted to ask, like any clarification that you need, or this is, yeah, like the last 2 minutes to kind of wrap up, answer any questions?
Yeah, I guess we have so many incredible things going on that are, real forward-looking kind of things, and I didn't put a lot of that in there, and I'm just wondering if you want some flash. Boy, we're talking with the world's largest gemstone manufacturer. They're very stealthy. They are probably going to join the investor team, the board, and there may even be they're US based, but very stealthy. They would provide us with a source of seed material that is actually our biggest pain point, because you got to have diamond to grow on diamond, and ultimately we'll create our own source of seeds. But right now we're reliant on the seeds in the market. And you might have seen the X through the Russian seed that I showed on the technology, or on the 4 chapters of the business slide. But that we were buying those from Russia before the Ukraine invasion. So that's off the table right now.
Well, I think the key here, just to reiterate a little bit what I said, like you're trying to sell your company. You're really trying to sell the opportunity that you're created for investors, not only your investors, for the people you're going to be hiring, for the talents you're going to be attracting. The two most important things you have to demonstrate here is that you can attract talent and you can attract money and investment. So you're selling your company and not just selling the product. We saw a lot about the sale of the product and what it can do. I want to know what your company can be.
Thank you, Antonio. So we do have a tier 1 team, and I think it's going to be another white guy that goes on that advisory board, but that's might be the most well-known name in quantum diamond materials in the world. So we're having those discussions. We just haven't closed on that yet. And we'll either get that person or somebody in their group, and they're coming out to visit us in a couple of weeks. We're very excited about that. And Eric, on the investor side, well, Red Cedar Ventures led the seed round, and then AGC, this Japanese public materials company, led the seed round. Red Cedar Ventures joined in on that. A strategic angel out of Chicago joined that, and also I think the #1 academic alumni group in the world provided significant funds in the recent seed round financing. We're talking with an array of very strategic patient family offices, mostly in the Chicago area right now. And I think we're going to be good on the investor side. And locating in Chicago, it's an incredible talent bed there. We love Michigan State, even the University of Michigan a bit, where I was yesterday. And our intent is to grow in both states. And once again, we're have a competitive process going, and Indiana is interested as well.
Great. Well, I think as an angel investor, we like to look around and see who else is in the room, who else is investing, and that can be impressive and draw us in as well.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, and that is bringing us to the conclusion. We were actually really on time today. We went through all of our presentations on time and all of our feedback. So we're going to wrap it up a little bit early and give you all the gift of time for the day. So I would first of all like to thank all of our presenters for sharing your innovative companies with us. It's just fascinating, cutting edge work that you guys are doing, and we love to hear about it. And thank you to our investor panel for offering your insightful feedback. Without you, our presenters, can't get better. And so your feedback is really valuable, and we appreciate you taking the time to share with us your expertise. And lastly, thank you to our audience for joining us today. I hope you'll join us again. Our next Kalamazoo Venture Tuesday is going to be on October 25th. As always, that meeting will feature 3 new companies and 3 new investor panelists. You can register for that event and other upcoming events at our website. I have dropped our website link into the chat, so feel free to quickly grab that and click on it and go to our website and check out what will be coming up. And with that, again, I thank all of you for your participation and your attendance today, and I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I do hope to see you again in the future. So thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks
Thank you.
everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.